Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a pretty incredible story coming out of a quiet town in Texas. We're going to see exactly how one family completely flipped their financial script. And no, they didn't win the lottery, and they definitely didn't inherit a fortune. Instead, they took something that absolutely terrifies a lot of people, borrowing money, and they literally turned that financial fear into a precise blueprint for success. So let's dive in and see how they built a better future. Now, have you ever watched your hard-earned savings just get completely outpaced by rising prices? Making a dream feel absolutely out of reach? It's kind of like running on a treadmill that just keeps speeding up. Well, that is exactly where our story begins with a hardworking guy named Michael. For years, Michael worked these long, exhausting hours as a delivery driver. His ultimate goal? Just to buy a small family home where his wife and 2 kids could finally put down roots. And he did everything right. He saved every single dollar he could. But every month, he watched housing prices climb higher and higher. No matter how hard he worked or how diligently he saved, buying a home with pure cash just seemed impossible. He was chasing a moving target.
Changing the loan mindset.
When you feel stuck chasing that moving target, sometimes just a single conversation can shift your entire perspective. For the longest time, Michael was completely trapped by what we call the cash-only myth. He was terrified of borrowing. He genuinely thought loans were dangerous, just a trap of endless debt. He was stuck in this mindset that, hey, if you don't have all the cash up front, you simply can't make the move. But then, a friend shared a crucial piece of advice that introduced him to the loan reality. His friend just told him, look, you don't always need all the money up front. That is literally why banks offer loans. So instead of letting fear win out, Michael decided to get curious. He decided to learn how loans actually work in the real world.
Rules of responsible borrowing.
So instead of just blindly signing papers, Michael actually took action. He went down to a local bank, sat down with a loan officer, and what that officer taught him completely changed his view on money. He learned that responsible borrowing isn't some debt trap. It's actually a vital tool for buying homes, starting businesses, and expanding your income. Let's walk through the 5 crucial rules they discussed. First up, only borrow what you can realistically repay. You've got to know your limits. Second, maintain a good credit score, which proves your reliability to lenders. Third, compare interest rates. Don't just take the very first offer you see. Fourth, create a solid monthly budget before taking the loan so you know exactly where every dollar is going. And fifth, use borrowed money for assets that can actually improve your future. Now, this wasn't just theory for Michael. After months of meticulous preparation using these exact rules, he actually qualified for a mortgage. And shortly after that, his family unlocked the door and moved into their very first home.
Building a business.
But the power of this framework didn't stop with just a house. Fast forward a few years, and Michael's wife, Sarah, wanted to chase her own seemingly impossible dream, opening a small bakery. Now, obviously, they didn't have the cash just lying around to buy a bakery outright, but instead of throwing in the towel, they leaned on the education and planning they'd already mastered. Step 1, instead of just wishing for cash, they sat down and hammered out a detailed business plan. Step 2, they took that plan and confidently applied for a small business loan. And step 3, the bank actually approved their application. They swapped out the excuse of lacking money for the absolute power of planning and education. Of course, securing that loan was really just the beginning of the hard work. On day 1, things are pretty small and, honestly, incredibly demanding. Sarah was up baking cakes before the sun even rose, fueled by passion and, let's be real, probably a ridiculous amount of coffee. She was working totally alone and serving customers all day long, but she stayed consistent. Slowly but surely, the business grew. And by year 3, the progression is just beautiful. Within 3 years, they weren't just surviving, they were absolutely thriving. They had hired employees, created local jobs, and even expanded to a much larger location. Today, the concrete results of their journey are honestly staggering. That bakery now serves hundreds of customers. But it's not even just about the bakery. Their home is being paid off steadily each month, giving them this rock-solid foundation. And most importantly, their kids now have opportunities that Michael and Sarah never even imagined were possible, back when Michael was just a delivery driver terrified of the housing market. The architect of opportunity. Which really brings us to the thematic core of this explainer. We have to ask ourselves, what was the true driving force behind Michael and Sarah's massive success? Was it just the bank's money? Well, Michael actually had a really powerful realization about this. He said, the loan didn't make us successful. It simply gave us the opportunity. Our hard work, planning, and discipline turned that opportunity into reality. And he hit the nail right on the head. A loan is never just free money. It should never be taken carelessly. It is simply a tool. And like any tool, it requires immense discipline, sweat, and effort to actually build something meaningful with it. It all boils down to a pretty distinct formula. Success equals education plus planning plus responsible borrowing plus consistent effort. It's so important to remember that a lot of successful homeowners and entrepreneurs started out with very limited savings. The thing that separated them from everyone else wasn't just sheer luck. They didn't let a lack of initial cash stop a good dream. No, they used this exact formula. They learned the rules, they planned carefully, they borrowed responsibly, and they worked faithfully toward their goals. So that leaves us with a final question for you to consider. What dream are you holding back on simply because you thought you needed all the cash up front? I really hope this explainer has encouraged you to rethink your relationship with debt, education, and opportunity. Thanks so much for joining me to break down this inspiring story, and I highly encourage you to take these lessons and start building your very own blueprint for the future.